Okay, guys, lesson 3.6. Lesson 3.6 is mathematics and finance. We are going to talk about interest formulas. You've seen and dealt with these interest formulas to an extent. Obviously, we've been dealing with logarithms lately, so we're still going to talk about logarithms thrown in here. So, first section we have up here is our compound interest formula for just a basic annual. So if we're talking about interest compounded annually, what do I mean by annually? Once a year, right? If we're talking annually is something that happens once a year. So this formula specifically works if it's compounded interest and it's specifically annually. It won't work for any other compounding options, okay? So we'll get to a different formula for that. So P, if you remember, stands for the principal. What do I mean by the principal? What?
What you put in.
Yeah, the amount of money you start with, what you put in. R is the interest rate, of course, as a decimal. A is the amount of the investment after in years, so A is your total amount, your final amount. Okay, so let's look at example 1. Suppose Quan Lee invests $500 at 7% interest compounded annually. Find the value of her investment after 10 years. So, what can you tell me? Okay, 500 is P because that's the principal she'll start with. What else? It's 7% is our interest rate, so we will be putting in what? Well, so R itself will just be 0.07, right? We'll end up adding that to 1, yes, but it'll be 0.07. What else do we know? Okay. It does say compounded annually, which that verifies that we will be using, we can use our formulas just for compound annually. 10 years means N is 10, right? So because it said compound annually, I'm using the A equals P times 1 plus R to the N. Fill it in. Needless to say, I'd expect to see this kind of work on your paper. So P we said is 500. 1 plus R is 0.07 raised to the 10th. Now, officially, before you go to calculators, if you haven't already, what's the one easy piece you can do? 1 plus 700ths is 1 and 700ths. And obviously at this point you are doing the calculator. Grab your calculators, make sure you know how to input the stuff. What are my options here? If you're doing this on a calculator where you have to do pieces, officially we need to do the exponents first. So 1.07 to the 10th, and then times 500. What's easiest to do in these calculators, though? Can you just enter it all at once? Yeah. I would just do 500 times 1.07 raised to the 10th. Does your answer match mine? Okay. Does your answer match mine? Yep. What kind of answer should you give? Yeah, it's money, right? 2 decimal places. So, $983.58. Questions on the annual formula? You've probably been using that since middle school, I would think. Back in middle school, it was a lot harder to explain to how to use it on the calculators, but that should be a little easier now. Okay. Part 2 is interest compounded K times a year. So this formula we're talking about here is, instead of it just being annual, it can be any amount of times per year. Okay? Which technically means you can use this formula for annual also, because annual times a year is once a year. So you could use this for any amount of times. Obviously, P is still principal, R is still the interest rate. The new part is that K is the number of times per year. So how often you're compounding. A is still the amount of investment, and after they use T for years here. So T years. Okay, so suppose Roberto invests $500 at 9% annual interest compounded monthly. Find the value of his investment after 5 years. So what information can you identify? Okay. Starting with 500. So P, or the principal, is 500. 9% is my interest rate, so that means N for R is going to be 0.09. Okay. Investment after 5 years. So 5 years means T is 5. Okay. It says compounded monthly. So when you see compounded monthly, that tells me my K value. And so monthly means once a month. So that is 12 times a year. Okay? So set up your formula. A equals P times 1 plus R over K raised to the KT. Okay, so P is 500, 1 plus 0.09 divided by 12 raised to the 12 times 5. I'm going to tell you minimum I want to see this written on your paper. This is work, right? This is you showing me you're setting it up. Don't just go straight to the calculator. Now, if we want to get technical here, could you go to the calculator from this point? Yeah, technically, you can enter this exactly as is on the calculator and make it work. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup here. In that, there's the 500 out front. What about 1 plus 0.09 divided by 12? So 0.09 divided by 12 is 0.0075, plus the 1 makes it 1.0075, raised to the 12 times 5, which is 60. Okay, again, you wouldn't necessarily have to do that ahead of time cleanup. Did you get an answer? $500 times 1.0075 to the 60th, or okay, yep, $782.84. If you're experimenting with not doing any cleanup ahead of time, it's a good opportunity to make sure it worked. Are we okay with those two? Stuff that, in all honesty, you probably could have done back in middle school? Okay. Okay, let's look at example 3 then. Judy has $500 to invest at 9% interest compounded monthly. How long will it take for her investment to grow to $3,000? What's different about this one?
We're given A, but not T.
Yeah, we're given A this time instead of finding A. The middle school version of these problems, you were almost always finding A. Now we have to find T. And this is where we are in the high school level problems now. Okay, so let's still go ahead and identify real quick. Let's see, what do we know? 500 is my P, 9%. R is 0.09. What else do I know? Okay, it's monthly again. Monthly tells me that K is 12. And then A is 3,000. Because we want to know how long will it take to get a final result of 3,000. So let me write down my formula and set it up. A equals P times 1 plus R over K raised to the KT. Anyone catch what I just did out of habit? Okay. A. What can we fill in for A? 3,000. Out of habit, I put A equals and kept going. P is 500. 1 plus 0.09 divided by 12 raised to the 12 times T. So it says how long. I'm going to use T there. Okay. Can we just plug this one into the calculator? No. Okay. This is why this one is in this. This is why we're talking about this in this chapter. Okay. So, couple of things. Can we clean up inside those parentheses? Let's clean up inside the parentheses, and then we'll talk about where to go next. 3,000 equals 500 times, what is that 1 plus 0.09 divided by 12? 1.0075 raised to the 12t. Now, I believe you guys would have had something similar to this in homework last night. Thoughts of what I want to do? Okay. I could tell that was a good generic answer of I know what I need to do, but I don't know how to do it. Okay, so our job is to get T by itself. Okay. If you recall yesterday, in the very last notes example I did, I said when you have a problem like this, start by trying to get your E to whatever power by itself. Isolate that. So in this case, what I'm going to say is isolate the power that has T. So in that case, what is that T on? That 12T is on the 1.0075. So let's isolate 1.0075 raised to the 12T. So in order to move the 500, if it's 500 times all of that, we want to divide by 500. If we divide one side by 500, we divide the other side by 500. 3,000 divided by 500 is 6. On the other side, the 500s will cancel. And I have 1.0075 raised to the 12t. Okay, guys, think in context of this chapter. I'm trying to solve for 12t, but it's in the exponent. Log. Okay, doesn't matter what kind of log we use. We don't have a 10, we don't have an e, so common log or natural log. So take the log of both sides. The log of 6 equals the log of 1.0075 raised to the 12t. What was the point of taking the log of both sides? What? I don't want to divide right now. What? I feel like it's being said. It's just so quiet.
You take the 12 and put behind that 12.
Yeah. That 12t, remember our power rule? 12t has to go out front, yes? So we're going to take that 12t, take it out front. I think I'm going to move over here because I'm not going to have room to finish this. So I'm going to have log of 6 equals 12t times log of 1.0075. So now that t is out of the power, how do I get t by itself? Okay, divide by log of 1.0075. Now if we do that, that's leaving me with 12t. Which means to get t by itself, I'd have to take another step and divide by 12. Could I do them at once? Yeah, we have calculators that can do that. You know, you have these fancy calculators. So since this is 12 times t times that log of 1.0075, you can take this in 2 division steps. That's fine. You'll get the same answer. Or what we can do is we can go ahead and divide by the 12 and the log 1.0075 at the same time. What we do on one side, we do on the other. So 12 times log of 1.0075. So before I grab my calculator, the answer I can write is that t is going to be equal to log of 6 divided by 12 times log of 1.0075. If you do it like I do it, make sure you set up the fraction bar, you're good. If you use a division symbol, make sure you put parentheses around the denominator. Otherwise, it won't work out right. So fraction bar, in my opinion, is easiest. Log of 6 divided by 12 log 1.0075. Did you get an answer similar to mine? Okay. If you did it without the fraction bar, as I said, just make sure you put parentheses before you start the denominator. Whoops. Okay, both ways work. So what is this answer? $20 years? Okay, because this is how long will it take, and we were talking t is in time of years here. So 19.98. I mean, yeah, it comes up 19.98, but when we're talking years, that is essentially 20 years. Okay, questions there?
You just check.
Try it. I'm not sure. The thing is, if it comes up something like 19 and a half, yeah, if it comes up something like 19 and a half, so I don't know that I'd let you round to 20, you know. I mean, I feel like 19.98 is so close that we can, say, yeah, that's 20. But if you have numbers that are not as close to that whole nice whole number, I don't know that we do that. So, it'd be a different story if it was exactly 20 years. I'd have to look at the problem to know. And I don't remember for homework what we're talking about here. So, I'll look here at the end of our time. Okay, guys. Example 4. Stephen has $500 to invest. What annual interest rate, compounded quarterly, is required to double his money in 10 years? So take it to the next level here. Okay. That's Stephen. Okay, what can you tell me about Stephen? He starts with 500, so that is my P, my principal. What else? Ooh, he ends with 1,000. How do we know he ends with 1,000? Yeah, here, right here, it doesn't give a number, but it says he doubles. And so you have to read into that and know if he ends with 1,000, that means that A is 1,000. That's my end goal here. Okay, what else? Okay, compounded quarterly, which means what? How many times a year is something done if it's done quarterly? 4 times a year. Okay? If you're breaking something up, you're breaking it into fourths. But it's quarterly is 4 times a year. 10 years. So T is 10. What are we trying to find? The annual interest rate. So we are trying to find R. We are now pirates. Is that what it is? Okay. Let's set up our formula. A equals P times 1 plus R over K raised to the KT. Filling in what I know. 1,000 equals 500 times 1 plus R over 4 raised to the 4 times 10. Okay, guys. Huh? I don't know if we have to do log here. So you can what? We're not gonna, we can't just plug it in.
Divide by 500.
Okay. I do agree with, let's work to try and get, we're working on trying to get R by itself, right? So let's move that 500 over to the other side. If it's 500 times all of that in parentheses, that means we're going to divide by 500. What's 1,000 divided by 500? 2. On the right, the 500s cancel. I have 1 plus R over 4 raised to the 40th. Thoughts on what to do next? So we're trying to get to the R that is inside the parentheses, right? So to get to that R that's inside the parentheses, let's talk about how can I get rid of that 40?
Take the 40th through.
Yeah. Take a 40th through. If this was 1 plus R over 4 to the second, how would we get rid of the second? We'd take the square root. So since this is a 40th power, we're going to take the 40th root. And I would be concerned except that we have fancy calculators, and guess what? They can do any root we want. Okay, so I'm going to take the 40th root. So it's going to be the 40th root of 2 and the 40th root of 1 plus r over 4 raised to the 40th. Now, personally, the 40th root of 2, I'm just going to write it as 40th root of 2 for the moment, because you know it's going to be some yucky decimal, right? And I don't want to have to I don't want to have to write that decimal down, decide how to round it. So for the moment, I'm going to say 40th root of 2. I'll deal with that issue at the end. What's the 40th root of something raised to the 40th? It's the inside. So 1 plus r over 4. How do I work to get r by itself? We're going to have to multiply by 4. I wouldn't do that first. I would say subtract 1. So if we subtract 1 over, so now I'm going to have the 40th root of 2 minus 1 is equal to r over 4. If it's r divided by 4, now I'm going to say multiply by 4. What we do on one side, you do on the other side. So my r value is going to be 4 times the quantity, the 40th root of 2 minus 1. On the TIs, did you find how to do a 40th root? It's in the math menu. Okay. I go to the place I know for sure you can always find stuff like that is the math menu. You hit the math button there on the left, it's number 5. It says X root, and so you can do any root. Is it up here in our alphas also somewhere? Okay, so if you go alpha window and then down to number 6, it's there as well. So for parentheses, I'm just going to enter this all at once. Math. So now I type in the 40th for my root, 2, get out from under the radical, minus 1. Okay. Did you get your calculator to match my calculator? So R is 0.0699, so on and so forth. Yes? What was the question asking? What annual interest rate? So is 0.0699 my annual interest rate? It's the what? Decimal form? So what form should I really be giving as my answer? Yeah. 6.99%? Or maybe 7%? It's not exactly 7%, but it's pretty darn close. Okay. We've got one more example to look at, and that is example 3. We are not looking at an example 4, and homework should not cover that. Okay? So example 3 is interest compounded continuously. You guys have seen this formula before. Are we all good? Visualize.
He said 70%.
Okay. You guys are good over there? Okay. Okay. Real quick, I'm running out of time. Just looked at my time. Compounded continuously. You've seen this formula before also. This uses base E. So obviously P is principal, R is the interest rate, A is the amount after T years. So this is something where it's not compounded just annually or just quarterly or anything like that. It is continuously. Now, the situation here says, suppose Latasha invests $100 at 8% annual interest compounded continuously. Notice what it's asking. Find the value of the investment at the end of years 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many answers are they looking for here? 7. what do I do? How do I find the 7 different answers? Yeah, plug in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we already know $100 is our principal. 8%, R is 0.08. Compounded continuously tells me I have to use that formula, and then through those different years. So A equals PE to the RT. The basics we can fill in here. We know P is 100 E to the 0.08, and then whatever T is, right? So you're going to take turns plugging in T. So I'm going to set up a chart for my answers. The years they're asking for, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Grab your calculator. 100 second E to the 0.08 times 1 is what I started to type. Go ahead and finish that off. What do we get here? If this is money, this is $108.33. Now, be smart with your calculator. Do I have to retype that equation every time? I would say go up, copy it, and just change that number. You could also set up a table if you wanted to. But I don't have time to remind you how to do the table. So $117.35. I'm going to go up, copy it again, change my 2 to a 3. $127.12. Are you guys getting these? Okay, so the numbers, if you haven't gotten them, at 4 it's 137.71. At 5 it's 149.18. At 6 it's 161.61. And at 7 it's 175.07. Okay, your homework, 1 through 12 all and 22 through 28 evens.
I wasn't a team without you.
His answer's not coming up anywhere near right.
No.
Did you put 0.08 as your? Did you use 100?
Yes, I'm going to try to get it.